The name of our unit was actually, we just kind of made one up, Making the Right Choices for You. It's kind of like a guidance advisory unit. We covered a bunch of different topics. The rationale really was that middle school students are presented with many different challenging choices to make, especially nowadays. And in our own personal opinion, I mean, they need guidance. And some of these things may not be in total accordance with, state standards or whatnot, but I think that it's still very important for students to have practice in making the right choices and being able to guide themselves in the right directions.
Trying to mention the goal each day.
Okay. So what we kind of did, we went with sort of a theme of that every day, at the end of the day, the students had to create a personal goal. And that goal could be either a lifelong goal that they want to achieve over a long period of time, or it could be something that they, shoot to achieve within the next month or day or something like that. So our first lesson would be on nutrition. The objective of that students have adequate knowledge and how the food and drink they consume will affect their bodies, and will be able to make healthy choices when it comes to nutrition. The focusing activity is the teacher would walk in and just be kind of disheveled and, oh, I'm so tired, and gradually throughout a couple minutes, I don't know what happened, I got to bed really late last night, and I had Domino's pizza for dinner, and this morning I had McDonald's, and just kind of revealing that they were eating and sleeping and doing unhealthy habits, and then, revealing that what they were doing. And the instruction is that students will be put into pairs, and each pair will be given 2 different foods to research. Ideally, this would be like in a computer lab. They would have 2 different foods to research. One would be healthy, one would be unhealthy, and they would kind of present those foods to the rest of the class after they've done their research, so kids can know like the positives and negatives to healthy foods versus unhealthy foods. And then at the end of the lesson, they would write one personal goal pertaining to nutrition. Okay, this is one of my favorite ones, parenting responsibility, and I actually got the idea from whoever did their problem paper on teen pregnancy. A lot of it is I don't remember who did their presentation on that, but okay. We're talking about how some students actually want to get pregnant and have babies. So I kind of figured, instead of going about it in a way of, you will get an STD or don't have sex or blah blah blah, kind of do it in a way that the students are pretending to be parents, and present them with problems that they're going to face and situations that they would face as a parent. So it would be a little, maybe a little uncomfortable for them, but sometimes that's a good thing. So you'd pair them up with a boy and girl in the class, and that would be the hypothetical couple. And there would be 10 questions total, and you would give the students 5 minutes per question. And the first question would be, the first year of your child's life. And, I don't remember exactly what I made the situations were, but it was like, number 1, it's time for your child's 1-year checkup. The doctor appointment's gonna cost you $50. Your favorite item of clothing just went on sale for $50 that you've been waiting for. If you don't buy it now, you'll never be able to get it again, but your child seems generally healthy. What do? Do you take your kid to the doctor, or do you go buy your item of clothing for yourself? And things like that, or your child's 5 years old. It's the night of your senior prom, and you realize that your kid's 5th birthday is on that day. If you don't go to their birthday, they may become emotionally detached from you, but you'll never get to go to your prom again. What do? And it's kind of also making them think ahead in the future, because each question presents one more year in their life. So it's like year 1, year 2, year 3, and they're thinking way farther ahead than just right now. And once again, at the end of the lesson, they would write a goal for themselves, having to do with maybe not necessarily parenting, but something having to pertain to this lesson. I want to wait till I'm ready, or wait till I'm married to do what. Stress management. The objective is that students will be able to identify different stressors and various healthy ways to relieve that stress. The focusing activity is the teacher will put up these statements on the whiteboard or the smartboard or whatever, saying, I think stress is ... and each student would complete that on their own piece of paper. The best way to cope with stress is ... and once again, the student would complete that on their paper. And that, they would kind of make their own little survey then, and then the instructions would be, have all the students get in a circle around the room so everybody can see each other, and each student would read their statement of, I think stress is, or I think this is stressful, and each student would have a balloon, and every time that you think that someone, whatever someone says, if you think that's stressful, you blow air into your balloon. And if you think it's really stressful, you blow a lot of air in the balloon. If you think it's just a little stressful, you blow just a little air in the balloon. And you do this until someone's balloon pops, and that signifies like their breaking point. And at the end of the lesson, you can just introduce various different ways to cope with stress. What I would do is I would probably have like a 5-minute little stretching exercise, just kind of like a relaxation thing, or sitting in your desk and closing your eyes and breathing, because breathing can be one of the simplest, most relaxing things a person can do. A lot of people don't think that that can be relaxing, because when you think about it, you don't really realize it until you actually do it. You know, the whole counting backwards from 10, it really does help a lot, at least initially. Body image, the objectives is that students will be able to recognize unique characteristics of each different person and be aware of the fact that people represented in magazines and in advertising is not reality. Most of those, if not all of them, are touched up. And on a sheet of paper as the focusing activity, you will have the students write responses to the following questions. List 3 to 5 ways people are different, and it could be anywhere from hair color to ethnicity to gender. What are some things we can change through effort? And by that we mean like behavioral traits, things like that. Like I can become better at school, I can become better at managing my time. Then what are some things we cannot change about ourselves? And those are things like your ethnicity, or like your culture, or like your background, you know, or things like that. And then what are some things that may change naturally through time that we cannot control? And that has a lot to do with actual body image. You know, because like we're stressing, adolescents, all of them look different, and none of them really realize that it's natural for everybody to be different at that state of life. So you'll group students into about 3 or 4 people per group, and give them all a copy of a teen or 17 magazine and an advertising questionnaire, which I have here. And all they really have to do is go through the magazine and answer the questions to the questionnaire that they get. And some of the questions are, does this ad include people with a variety of body shapes and sizes? A lot of what you'll notice in teen magazines, 17 and all those things, everybody looks exactly the same, and all the models, you know, are this big. So, and how do people look in the advertisement? What is their body type? Normal weight, unusually thin, overweight, and things like that. And then once again, at the end, they'd write a whole personal goal of their body image. And respect and kindness. Students will become informed of how certain actions affect other people, and will be able to set a positive goal for themselves in regards to making actions that influence peers in a positive manner. The focusing activity is each student, it's exactly what we did in the beginning. That was actually the first group that went. The activity that they did was what we were going to do, so we kind of switched it around. But that would be the focusing activity for that lesson. And for the instruction, all the students will write on a piece of paper about a time that somebody was mean to them. This will be anonymous. They don't have to write their names on it. And then the teacher will read all of those out loud and make a note to the students, kind of like, you know, you'll say, I want you to really pay attention to these, because we're going to have them write a reflection on at least 2 or 3 of the situations, you know, and write what was the situation that stuck out the most to you, you know, that happened to somebody, and how did that make you feel? Have you ever experienced anything similar to that? And this will also help students realize that they're not the only ones that go through maybe bullying or be picked on or things like that, and they do have things in common with their classmates.
shifted gears a little bit, but it was still making the right choices for you. This week kind of focused more on the smoking and alcohol and stuff. So the first lesson for the second week was smoking, and the objective was just to understand facts about smoking and the effects on the bodies, and to analyze advertisements along with the claims that the advertisements make. For the focusing activity, the students will get magazines and find tobacco ads in the magazines, because there are a lot, not as much as there used to be, but there's still some, and just look at the advertisements and see what they claim and what the truth is behind them, and with the instruction they would actually create their own advertisements about smoking and the actual truth behind it. With all the facts, they would be researching and figuring that out. They would share them, just a few with the class to see what that is, and then write their goals with smoking as if they were put in the position to smoke, what would they do, and their goals for that. The next one is alcohol, and it's along the same lines. They would start off with a survey about alcohol. I found this activity where they actually do a relay race, and the students are in groups of 5, and they have to walk across the classroom, unwrap a Hershey's Kiss, eat it, completely chew it before they walk back to their group, and they would be timed. And then the second round, they would all have to put on rubber gloves backwards and inside out, the big rubber gloves, and they would try to do the same task. And then they would discuss how that affected how well they could unwrap the Hershey's Kiss and eat it, and how fast they could do it in. Just kind of describes the effect of alcohol it has on your body, and how it can affect your daily activities. And the same thing, write a goal. If you were presented to use alcohol, what would you do, and goals for yourself. The same thing with drugs. They would come in and do a survey about drugs, what they know about drugs, a little quiz about drugs, and then they would create a mobile with a coat hanger, and they would flip through magazines and find things that they enjoy, not just hobbies and sports, but places they want to travel, and they would hang those all from the coat hanger, and then they would draw a picture of a drug and hang it on the other side and attach it to cardboard, and it would unbalance and show that drugs create an unbalanced life. And they would also create a goal with that at the end of that day. The next one is depression, and they would come in and start, students would just come up and place an X on a timeline kind of thing, where this side is that they've never been sad, and that side is where they've been so sad they didn't know what to do. They wouldn't share what happened. They would just place an X and sit down quietly, and then they would go through a survey and answer by themselves, not sharing exactly why they were depressed, but just feelings they had when they were sad. And that's the same thing with the goals on how to overcome that sadness. The last one is managing anger. Students are going to compile a list of feelings and discuss how it feels to be angry and when people are actually mad at you. And then they will play a game called Blowing Off Steam, and the kids have to blow a cup into a bag that's attached to the end of the table, just using air. They can't use their hands or anything, and then they'll just discuss how frustrating it was to not get the bag in there. And then at the end, they will create positive I messages to help communicate better, instead of just I'm mad at you, taking my anger out on you kind of thing.
So our unit assessment, we decided to have them write an essay because we've had them recording these goals for 10 days. They should have 10 goals, all right? And what they're gonna do is they're gonna write up an essay reflecting on themselves, and it's gonna be worth 60 points. For getting the 60 points, they're going to need to state each one of the goals, and those will be worth 2 points apiece. They also need to explain why they chose that goal. And then those are all worth 2 points. And then again, they needed an explanation as to how they plan to achieve those goals, whether it's long-term or short-term. And that was our unit assessment. Like I said, our original activity we had planned was the same activity that the first group did. So we decided to switch it up a little bit, and I guess we'll go with our theme of making goals is if everybody could get out a sheet of paper, and everybody is going to write 3 goals for themselves and you can just fold them and put them in your pocket if you want to keep it, you know, look at it later. Pertaining to kindness towards others, nutrition, and stress management. I know it's kind of hard to write it when we haven't done any of the lessons, but didn't want you to be doing the same thing twice. And if anybody feels comfortable sharing with you, isn't that just like that?
Yeah, I know.
Does anyone want to share some of their goals? Anyone?
I'll share one.
Okay, go ahead.
When I get stressed, I tend to get like emotional because everything piles up, and I want to keep a clear head and maintain a level of sanity.
Very good. Anybody else want to share one? No. Okay. Well, that's all we have.